We volunteered through AmeriCorps to help with cleanup at Joplin. They were young people who organized and directed the cleanup. We also volunteered through this group with cleanup at Greensburg, Kansas. We used our camper to stay in at night. When we arrived in Joplin, we went to see where the tornado damage was. It looked like a battlefield. Houses were completely gone, vehicles were totally wrecked, and only stubs of trees were remaining. Days began with meeting at a specific site where volunteers were divided into work groups to be transported or walked to the area we would be working in. People came from all over the world, including a group of young men from Russia. One couple who had started on their honeymoon learned of the tornado and came back to Joplin instead to help with the cleanup. Days were extremely hot, and a specific area was assigned to each group. The tornado hit an older section of Joplin that did not have basements. In one block, a lady said she had lost almost all of her neighbors. The houses were simply leveled to the base, with only the concrete floor left in many cases. Sometimes there would be one wall standing, maybe a bathtub in the middle, but most of the homes were completely destroyed. A hospital that was several stories high was moved off its foundation and had to be rebuilt. Many of the people had no shelter to go to. As you know, loss of life was very high. We moved trees, pieces of houses, everything that we could to the street where it was picked up by trucks to be hauled to disposal sites. Our first morning, while riding the bus to the work site, the driver pointed out one older gentleman from a nearby city. He had already helped for a few days with a chainsaw. He would cut the trees up so we could drag them to the curb. When and if we found a picture, a piece of jewelry, or anything of value, we would either give it to our leader or leave it on the base of the home we were cleaning. Everywhere, toys, clothing, furniture, pictures, everything a person has in a home was scattered around the house and yard. We were driven back to the base camp for lunch, which was served buffet style. At lunch, we visited with a couple who lived in a nearby apartment house. They had gone to a shelter in a place provided for them, and when they came out, the wife said she felt like it was Armageddon. It was at night, there were fires burning, everything was leveled, and she could hear people moaning and crying. A station was set up in a tent for residents to go to begin the process of how to apply for insurance when all their records are gone, how to return to work when all their autos were destroyed, and how they had no records to start the process. The first week we were there, we worked cleanup. We returned later, and cleanup was essentially completed, so we helped sort donated clothing and basic items that were given to residents. There were stacks and stacks of donated items to be sorted. Various food services donated food for the volunteers. We did not take pictures. The trees were completely barren, no leaves, but one thing I remember clearly was a baby's shoe just hanging from a branch. On down the way, a white wedding dress was entangled in the trees.